Let's get ready to rumble!
So Dillian is still in arbitration with the WBC because he wants at least a 45 split, being that he's the interim champion to face Tyson Fury. Tyson Fury and Bob Arum are steadfast on giving Dillian 20%, 80 to Tyson Fury because of the discrepancies in how much both of them have earned in their last 3 or 4 purses. If the WBC don't give Dillian what he wants, Dillian and Eddie Hearn will take it to a purse bid. Bob Arum has expressed that Tyson Fury's got to be fighting by March. They want him out there by March. So, in the meantime, he could take, not a voluntary, a non-title fight. And names like Andy Ruiz have been mentioned, and Joseph Parker, funnily enough, who beat Derek Chisora yesterday, even though Joseph Parker has expressed several times that he will not fight Tyson Fury under no circumstances. But if you notice that Fury, as far as I know, has never said that he wouldn't fight Joseph Parker under no circumstances at all, because he would. I've heard Parker say it. So is that mutual? Parker's name has came up as a potential opponent. Now you think to yourself, rather than they let it go to a purse bid, just give Dillian something satisfactory, 40. Now in my opinion, if Dillian turns down 40, he's being unreasonable. Why should they give him any more than 40? They're saying that 20% is too much. That's what they're actually saying, because of the differences between their recent purses. But I'd say 40, you get 40, leave it there. The 5%, you can write that off. See, but logic would say if Dillian is going to get a bigger purse if it goes to a bid and DAZN throw a lot of money at the fight, which is obviously what's going to happen, Tyson Fury will probably get a bigger purse than what ESPN are going to pitch up, even at 80%. It's probably going to get a bigger purse. So does Tyson Fury actually want it to go to a purse bid and that DAZN pick it up? Because he's going to get more money that way. Because DAZN will have to obviously produce a bigger pot than the current 80-20 split. And we're still waiting for what the WBC say about the split. But I don't know how Eddie was phrasing it. He was saying they won't know what the WBC split is until it goes to a purse bid, which seemed weird to me. How would you know what to bid in a purse unless the split came first? So it's all very confusing, as it is with Dillian's situation with the WBC, and we hope it's resolved soon. Here's what it comes down to, though. Fury does not want to commit himself to what, let's just say, a modern-day sanctioning belt champion should have to commit himself to. And that's taking on your mandatories, taking on ranked voluntaries. He's never wanted to do that. So now Bob Arum is talking about, if we can't do a deal with Dillian, we'll do a fight for the Ring Magazine belt and the lineal title, and we'll pick another opponent. You see, if you can't do a deal with Dillian, let's say Dillian accepts the WBC split, what they say is a fair split, and they still don't do a deal with Dillian, more than likely they're going to have to give up the belt because Dillian is still going to be mandatory. They're prepared to give up that belt and trade on the Ring Magazine title and the lineal title. To me, that's a cop-out, but you already know my views on Tyson Fury. There'll also be no rematch clause. If Dillian takes the belt, then it's his. Can't say I'm too mad at that. And maybe there should be a stage where the rematch clause is eradicated from world title contracts. But while it's there, I don't want to hear nobody Eddie Hearn this, Eddie Hearn this, when everybody has used it to their advantages, whether that's the champions or the challengers. But when it comes to Eddie Hearn, some of you want to make a big deal about it, and that's just, we don't like him, but we like him bullshit boxing politics. I'm going to bring up Wilder's retirement again. I know I keep bringing it up, but he better be very successful selling fragrances with his wife, because if Fury does fight Dillian and he beats Dillian, this also puts a red flag on Deontay Wilder's resume, that he's having to clean up your leftovers with all the food that you left on the table. And then there's Anthony Joshua out there and Usyk. There's no way you can go down as a current heavyweight great and you haven't faced all the relevant names in your era. These are the 4 names that TalkSport said he needs to fight before he retires, right? You got AJ, Usyk, Dillian Whyte, Andy Ruiz. Why are they saying that? Because, you know, look, without them being rude, they know the resume is incomplete. No one's saying this about Sean Porter. You need to go fight Boots Ennis and Ortiz and... No, they're not saying that about him because he's done all he could. And don't be talking about no 10 title defenses because when you do that, you sound like the original casual. That championship resume is light. A message to Terence Crawford. Unless you're willing to sign with the PBC, or unless you're just now terrorizing Errol Spence for clout, there's no sense calling this guy out. There's really no sense. The Virgil Ortiz fight is the fight to make right now. That's the fight to make. He's the number one contender. He hasn't been mandated yet, but you don't have to wait for him to be mandated. This will be either a good fight for you to hook up with DAZN with, or a good fight for whoever catches the purse bid. You could even work with Bob Arum. Virgil Ortiz is your next fight. Should be your next fight. You got Mikey Garcia at number 3. How is Mikey Garcia at number 3? He just got schooled in his last fight. Maybe they haven't updated the rankings. But we're still awaiting if Errol Spence is going to confirm a unification fight against UGAS. Because Stanios apparently has agreed to step aside, and the WBA have approved a unification against the WBC and IBF 147-pound champion Errol Spence. And it's a very good fight. It's a very good fight. I'm glad UGAS doesn't have to take these 2 mandatories consecutively in this bogus tournament. I'd rather him fight Spence. That's a better fight for UGAS. You know, the man just beat Manny Pacquiao. Stanionis, he can get the winner out of UGAS and Spence, even though that pushes Bud further out the loop than ever of unifying his belts. BETERBIEV and Stanionis, they can have a winner gets mandated fight. Or not. You know, I mean, like, you just wait around if you want. Now, those who take Errol Spence's side on these type of debates are either trying to be objective for the sake of it to make themselves look a little different from everyone, which is weak. Wrong is wrong and right is right. That shit is weak. Or they're just extreme fanboys. We already know that UGAS made a request to face Errol Spence before the WBA ordered him to face Stanionis. So UGAS wants the Spence fight. Now we know Spence wants no part of Crawford. The WBA are clearing the way for him to face UGAS. Does Spence want to fight UGAS? Does he want that fight? Because in my opinion, the Stanionis thing and the BETERBIEV thing, tournament thing with UGAS was to stall a fight between UGAS and Errol Spence. It was to stall that fight. But now they've cleared the way. Does Spence want it? Is Al Heyman now, after the big hits he's took this year, Wilder, Plant versus Canelo, Sean went down, Marcus Brown took a beating yesterday, Tank's pay-per-views bombed, is he now being forced to pitch Errol Spence in harder than he would have wanted to if the PBC had more of a profitable year? The questions have to be asked. Now, shit happens in boxing. Is it a crisis what's happening at the PBC? That might be going too far. Because the fortunes in boxing just swing and turn all the time. Who knows what's in store for next year? Who knows? Who knows? I mean, Matchroom boxing. AJ went down, Billy Joe Saunders, Kid Galahad, Terry Harper. There's a lot of crashes for Matchroom. No doubt about that. That's boxing. Sometimes that's just how it goes. But when you're having to put on Luis Ortiz and Charles Martin and Thurman versus Barrios as pay-per-views, you're going to need matches like UGAS versus Spence. You're going to need to put matches on like that. They're going to need some quality fights if they're going to stay afloat. Now, I don't know what Spence thinks about that. Is he ready for UGAS? Looks like Al Heyman is ready. He wants to put it on. Or I don't think the WBA would have made that judgment today, would have cleared the way for that fight. That's just my opinion. Am I saying that Al has got the WBA in his pocket? Perhaps a little, but maybe that's not the way to phrase it. But he has huge influence on who he wants to fight for that belt or not. Al definitely has some influence with the WBC and WBA. There's no doubt about that. You know, here's Stanionis tweeting, "You're welcome." Like he's doing us a favour giving us Spence and UGAS. But is this due to the pressure that Errol Spence is facing now to fight Crawford. Why this is happening? Al's had to have words with the WBA. I'm guessing the IBF gave Errol Spence an extension because of the car crash, but it's been an age since he's made a mandatory defense of that IBF title. And we know Terence Crawford requested to be mandated to face Errol Spence or to fight for the IBF belt, and they're dragging their feet. And it just leads people up the path to believe there's corruption and there's some witness protection committee protecting Errol Spence and other PBC fighters. Keith Thurman tweeted this, February the 5th, he's back. It's grind time, stack card. And he says, a great night of boxing for all fans is Showtime 2022. Now, Leo Santa Cruz, he's in rehab from the tank fight, so I don't know who Keenan Carbajal is. Don't know much about Abel Ramos. Jose Cito Lopez, who Thurman fought just before the Pacquiao fight. I don't know what Jose Cito's current form is right now. Luis Neri, didn't he get smashed up by Brandon Figueroa not too long ago? He's in rehab as well. And this is the undercard for what is going to be a pay-per-view event. Now, Mario Barrios never really did anything at 140 as far as I'm concerned, even though he had that trinket. And he's certainly untested at 147. I think a better fight would have been Jose Cito Lopez, a rematch with him. Like, the late rounds was getting tight, very tough, and he had Keith a little uncomfortable in the late rounds. I think that would have been a better headliner. Not pay-per-view worthy, just like Barrios ain't pay-per-view worthy. Now, I've been watching the sport a long time. Seen some great events in America. Like, I'm just trying to remember some of the pay-per-views I've bought. Obviously, you got Frank Bruno versus Mike Tyson 2, Holyfield versus Mike Tyson 2, you know, shit like Floyd versus Manny. These are great events. Like, you can say that the Mayweather-Pacquiao fight didn't provide much action in the ring, but it was a huge event. Huge event. You know, Lewis versus Tyson. And yes, in the UK, we can have a Chisora, a Usyk fight on pay-per-view. $19.99, £20, let's say. I believe the second Chisora and Dillian fight, that was pay-per-view. But that's because our domestic scene is a little different in comparison to the American scene. This is not possible for a pay-per-view in America. There's not one world title fight on there. At least 2 or 3 of the fighters. I mean, and Keith Thurman is on rehab as well. The whole card is on rehab. The whole card is on rehab. Thurman, Barrios is on rehab. Santa Cruz. I'm not too sure about Jose Cito and Abel Ramos. But Luis Neri, they're all on rehab. Like, coming off bad defeats and shit. I'm not saying you can't take a loss. You can take a loss and bounce back on a big card. But to have so many fighters coming off bad defeats like that for a pay-per-view it's a little strange. And the PBC are not going to do anything to strengthen the case for paying for pay-per-views in America with cards like this. I wonder what the Charles Martin, Luis Ortiz undercard is like. I mean, that's not a world title fight either. I wonder if this is going to get cancelled. You know, like, what are they doing? It's kind of like they don't acknowledge that there are boxing fans around my age, loads of them, who've seen great fights over there and didn't even have to pay for them, and they were paying for this now. It was a bloody affair. Marcus Brown, he tried to keep it long, and he did score some punches. What was noticeable was, well, let me just say this. I'd be interested to know what BETERBIEV rehydrated to, because he was just so much bigger than Marcus in terms of body mass. There was a clash of heads, and Marcus did try to illegally use his head. He did. When he saw BETERBIEV was cut, he tried to put his head in the cut again and make it worse. Kind of like a Otto Wallin type of move against Tyson Fury. He did. But he rallied back when BETERBIEV was threatening to swarm all over him, and he tried to make a fight of it the best he could. Marcus never looked likely to push BETERBIEV on the back foot, even when he was scoring well with shots. And it always seemed like inevitable, just a matter of time before BETERBIEV done some real damage. And the body shots, you know, they took their toll. BETERBIEV is a little slow in comparison, but you could argue that he was just being methodical, not trying to waste too much shots, and he got the job done in the end, didn't he? Marcus, he put up a good battle. He took some good shots, actually. You know, but when it got heavy, he covered up as best he could. He rallied back, but BETERBIEV was doing all the damage because he was coming forward, getting momentum in his shots, while Browne couldn't put a dent in BETERBIEV. You know, like I was saying, BETERBIEV just looked a lot bigger. There was some body shots that went in the 7th and a right hand over the top put Marcus down. And then there was some good left hand work in the 9th that finished the job. I think it was an uppercut. Browne was also cut, but his cuts were harder to see because of his darker skin through the screen. Now, the old did he quit debate is back again. Did Marcus Browne quit? Well, what appeared to me was he let the referee count him out. Then he got up. But he was taking a bad beating. But as my brother from Scandinavia said early, he didn't exactly go out on his shield like Deontay Wilder, did he? You're hesitant to say the word quit, especially when you're not the one taking the punches, but the clinical definition would be what then? BETERBIEV has got a weak resume as far as I'm concerned. He's a good fighter. I like the Whyte win. This was a good win, but Marcus Browne is a little bit of an underachiever, isn't he? When is Bivol and BETERBIEV going to fight? Why did BETERBIEV leave the zone when that fight was on the table? I don't get it. And he's just been at ESPN and Top Rank, but doing what? For the last, let's say, 3 years or so. Yeah, he's defended his belt, but he hasn't made a splash anywhere, apart from probably Russia. And he's 36 years of age. I don't know if BETERBIEV and Bivol are waiting for Canelo to call, but, you know, there's a perfectly good fight to be made between the two of them. Will they get it done? CHISORA said he had a broken finger yesterday, going into the Parker fight, and he said it's not happening yet. He's not retiring yet. He said, fuck retirement, I'll be back in the summer. Eddie Hearn admitted it's hard to match Derek because he's not regressing in training. He is not losing his punch resistance, and he is still boxing well. He is 36 and he is in a lot of tough fights. So it's a decision between his loved ones who will say, what do you want to do? He loves fighting and he could fight anyone, Ruiz, Ortiz, and still fill up the stadium regardless. It was another tough night at the office, but we will support Derek, whatever he chooses to do. But I believe he will fight again. I'm pretty sure of that. Joseph Parker was saying he wants to see Derek retire. You didn't put that much of a beating on him, Joseph. Come on, man. Stop it. You won the fight. Well done. If you want Derek to retire, you should have knocked him the fuck out. Then you would have a stronger case. Eddie Hearn said Del Boy could still beat Wilder. A lot of people are laughing at that. Well, I'm not laughing. Joseph was catching him with that right uppercut as he came in. He was timing him as he came in. That's not Wilder's game. Wilder likes them long shots, and maybe you could catch something with Derek Long. But stylistically, that's not a great matchup for Deontay Wilder. It really isn't. Because Derek's going to be saying either I get knocked out or I push you on the back foot and give you a beating. Wilder can't fight well on the back foot. So I'm not laughing. But then again, I know boxing. Some of you guys think them 10 defenses that Wilder made is impressive. Like, those of us outside the Wilder fan base don't know boxing, but that's just not the truth, is it, really? Derek Chisora, outside Tyson Fury, is no worse than any of the bums that Wilder defended his title against and won the title from, and that includes Luis Ortiz. He's no worse than any of them. Now, before you start losing it totally, I would favor Wilder to win. I'd have Wilder favorite, but it's not a foregone conclusion by any means. Joseph Parker, he's got to stay active and ambitious with his matchmaking. I think the Hrgovic fight is a really good fight, man. Really good fight. Eddie Hearn, he said he likes Hrgovic and Parker next, and it's a fight that is makeable. I have no doubt Hrgovic will take it, but I have a feeling that Dave Higgins and Parker, they're going to get swole up because they beat Derek, which is a good win, but you got to put it in perspective. You were supposed to do this first time around. Parker still has to re-establish his credentials. So I'm a little skeptical because we've already heard from Joseph, I'm not going to fight Tyson Fury under no circumstances. We're bros, man. And Terence Crawford and Sean Porter were bros from when they were kids, you know, proper bros. And they fought, and they're still bros. And you can say Andy Lee trains both of them, but Sugar Hill is the official trainer for Tyson Fury. You can say that, but even before Joseph Parker hooked up with Andy Lee. He's been like this with Tyson Fury.
Eddie, yeah, just in terms of the possible opponents for Joseph Parker coming up, I know you mentioned a few in the press conference there. Ideally, you know, the boxing fan of you, who would you like to see Joseph go up against?
I like the Hrgovic final eliminator. You know, I think that's a really good fight, and the winner obviously gets a big split with the IBF to fight the winner of AJ against Usyk. So you know, it's a big fight. Wilder, Ruiz rematch, Luis Ortiz, loads of fights for Joseph Parker, and he's put himself right back in the mix.
Luis Ortiz, Andy Ruiz, Michael Hunter, Martin Bacoli. I believe Joseph Parker will be the next fighter to jump on that list of fighters who just don't want that Hrgovic smoke. They just don't want it. Give Jerry Forrest the fight, man. Give Jerry Forrest the Hrgovic fight. That's if Zhang Zhilei doesn't come through. Didn't Zhang Zhilei want the fight? It was a little frustrating to hear Eddie Hearn saying that LeRon Richards needs to be more exciting. You know, when Eddie signed LeRon, when was that, a year or so ago? He was on Queensbury with Frank Warren before. He didn't have a lot of stoppages when Eddie picked him up. So all of a sudden, he has to radically change his style. Well, that won't be LeRon Richards then, would it? He said he wants to be more active. And it's Eddie's job to make sure that he's visible, that he's active, and he's in the correct fights. Now, as for him being a boring fighter, I'm not seeing that personally. He's not a big puncher, but that doesn't equal boring fighter necessarily. He was in there with a guy who wanted to catch him with a big shot, and it turned into a chess match at times, and Gongora came off second. Richards was a move ahead of him for a lot of the early stages of that fight. Basically, if Gongora couldn't land the jab, how was he going to land his power shots? And that's what his issue was for most of the fight. He was getting beaten to the punch. I was screaming at my screen when, you know, I think LeRon was trying to put more emphasis on slugging rather than boxing, and he got caught with a few shots, which didn't trouble him in the slightest, not at all. I think he was probably thinking I wonder if I can take his punch, and then he found he could. Boxing is very psychological like that. Pat Barrett was trying to explain it the other day, that sometimes Lyndon Arthur will be boxing under instructions, and it would be so easy at times that maybe he feels obligated to do a little something different. And I don't know, maybe LeRon thought, I need to do something more for the crowd. Or maybe he's thinking, maybe the fight's just too easy. Maybe I need to take a power shot because this doesn't feel like reality. This is easier than what it's supposed to be. This guy was supposed to come over here as a favorite and beat me. And basically making an observation. I'm assuming that's why it is so important that you spend hours on drills, hours and hours, so the muscle memory doesn't allow you to get beaten by your own psychology. Because that's what it is basically sometimes. It's your muscle memory against your psychology. You know what I mean? Your psychology might be saying, he hasn't hit me with a big shot all night. I bet I could take one if I had to. Your muscle memory is saying, nope, keep him out, give him nothing. Repetitive, repetitive, repetitive. That's why the muscle memory is so important. But he won well. It's up to Eddie to get him some good fights, try and get him into a position for a world title fight. If Frank Warren wants to do that cross-promotion thing he was talking about, why not make the Zach Parker fight? I like Zelfa Barrett. I like the way he whips his punches in. I think he's quite an exciting fighter. Like a lot of people said he lost against Kiko. It was a tough fight. I think it was close. But he got the W, and we saw what Kiko did to Kid Galahad. So now he's in line to fight Ogawa, who is the IBF Super Featherweight champion. He won that this year. Now, hopefully Ogawa isn't juiced up to the gills like he was post-fight Tevin Farmer in 2017. He's 33 years of age, which is, you know, that's getting on for a super feather. He's been knocked out once. That's the one defeat of his career. 26 wins, 18 knockouts. And Zelfa will be up against it. PED result withstanding, he's a good fighter. He's a strong, come-forward fighter. That's how I remember him against Tevin Farmer. Farmer arguably outboxed him from the outside, but, you know, Zelfa's got it all to do. Zelfa, you know, he's 28. He's got to get a move on now if he wants to ever win a world title. He's not a kid. He decisioned Bruno Tarimo in an IBF Eliminator yesterday. And he's also beat Kiko Martinez. So No one can't say he hasn't earned his shot. He's definitely earned his shot, whether you agree with the Kiko Martinez decision or not. Eddie has got to do what he's got to do to get the fight in Manchester. You know, offer a guy that bag. It's a gamble, but that's boxing promotion, yeah? I'm not saying Zelfa can't do it, but he's going to need every advantage he can get. Zelfa, you know, he won well against Tarimo. Tarimo doesn't look like he's a super feather. He doesn't. And I think he said himself he could make super bantam. But his low center of gravity, he's learned how to use that, and he's hard to hit with clean shots. And could Zelfa have doubled up his jab more? I don't want to be too critical. He won the fight well. He won well. Scored a knockdown in the third. And he was never in no danger of losing. Maybe he got hit with shots he didn't need to get hit with, but that's always going to be Zelfa. Let's hope the boxing gods are on his side when he fights Ogawa, because it's going to be a tough ask. I don't think Alan Babic was as hurt as badly as some people are saying. And when an 11-7-1 trial horse is catching with counters as easy as that, yeah, I can dig it, while a lot of people are writing him off right now. Babic is currently 10-0 with 10 knockouts. Now, Babic, you know, he's never going to be a defensive genius. In the first round, I did notice he was trying to shorten up his punches a little. Spilmont, the Frenchman, he caught him with that left hook in the second, and it spun Babic. He was facing the other way, and it didn't look good. But I don't think he was hurt as bad as people are saying. But, you know, he got tagged. He definitely got tagged. And he got tagged all throughout the fight. But he got his man out of there eventually. Scored a couple of knockdowns in the fourth and the sixth. They're talking about they want to fight for the Bridgerweight title, which is currently held by Oscar Rivas. That might be a jump too far for him. I don't know. But you got to look at Babic's psychology. He does a lot of that self-deprecation shit. People get under the spotlight. They're being judged on how good they are. Pressure's on. So Babic is saying things like, yeah, I'm rubbish. I'm going to get knocked out soon anyway, is what he said post-fight. He's basically telling us that you can put expectation on me, but I'm putting none on myself. And a lot of people are saying as soon as he fights somebody with a jab and a boxing IQ and a gas tank, he's going to fall apart. And I'm not here to tell you that you're wrong. But don't be surprised if Babic shows up and has a little more in the tank than many of us may believe. Not everyone's cup of tea, but yo, for me, Babic is just great entertainment. I mean, you see, people might not like LaRon Richards, but you need a Babic to offset any potential lulls in the promotion. Like, I know the purists are saying, no, not for me, Beats, but if we're just talking about all-out entertainment, the Babices of the world are a valuable resource. I'm not talking about him being a world-class fighter. Certainly not. But nevertheless, an invaluable resource. Jordan Thompson, he went 12-0 with as much knockouts. His opponent, Piotr Budziszewski, I tried. He was overmatched, went down a couple of times, and that was that. Eddie said that Jordan was a little disappointed that he didn't get a little more resistance, but Eddie said, smile, they're about to get much tougher. And he may have a point. What did Lloyd Hannigan say?
I told you I'm here for war. I'm not here to mess around when I'm in this ring. I don't get paid for overtime. I'm here to fight.
Gilberto Ramirez, hard not to like his fights. It really is. He doesn't know if he wants to do the Mexican warrior shit or be a slick southpaw. Got tagged quite a lot by Unieski Gonzalez, and he felt them shots. Some big rights. Gonzalez has good hand speed for someone with such muscular dimensions. You know, he's got that diamond shaped back and everything. Ramirez, though, takes a good shot. The fight, to me, it turned around when he landed that late, was it a left hook after the bell in the third round? The referee didn't do anything about it, but Gonzalez looked at him like, you know, what are you doing? I'm not sure if he recovered. His coordination, equilibrium was all over the place, just stumbling all about the place. Still putting up a spirited effort, though. There was the head clash where Gonzalez's big bald head, I don't think it was deliberate. Went crash into Ramirez's jaw. Ramirez just shrugged it off like, so what? At the end of it all, Ramirez had the better chin, better punch resistance, and he's a little fresher, 6 years younger. He got the stoppage in the 10th. Good win, good fight. Enjoyed it, really enjoyed it. Could be fight of the night. Okay, I got hold of this video. Somewhat of a deja vu moment.
Hi, this is Tyson Fury, the Gypsy King, and this is the message for the BBC on their SPOTY award. Please take me off your list, as I'm the People's Champion and have no need for verification or any awards. I know who I am and what I've done in sports, and the love of the people is worth more to me than all the awards in the world. So to all of my supporters, please don't vote on this. Take me off the list. All my love, Tyson Fury, the Gypsy King. Peace out.
Now, I looked at the video and the background. I was thinking, wow, was this 2015 when he snubbed the awards back then after he beat Vladimir Klitschko? But no. This is 2021. How do I know? Because the WBC belt is there. That was the missing link when he beat Vladimir Klitschko. He now has that. He also snubbed it last year as well. Now, basically, you know, he made what they want to call sexist and homophobic comments in 2015. And you had guys like, is it Clive Myrie, the black guy from the BBC, calling him whatever. And there was a petition. 50,000 people petitioned against him being nominated for the awards. And he called them 50,000 wankers to Coogan.
What's your view on the petition? 50,000 strong, class?
50,000 wankers, mate.
Now, it's 12 minutes to 2 a.m. in the UK. So I'm assuming the awards are now done and dusted. You know what I mean? Like Sunday evening. That's when they normally take place. The nominees were Tyson Fury, Adam Peaty, a swimmer, tennis star Emma Raducanu, Raheem Sterling, footballer, Paralympic swimmer, and cyclist Dame Sarah Story. Now, his request was refused to be taken off the shortlist, but he was not voted in the top 3 anyway. Emma Raducanu, she won it in the end, 19-year-old who won the US Open, didn't she? So it's a massive achievement for her. Some journalists are saying like Tyson Fury has kind of exposed the award, that it's a bit deluded thinking that it's that important, you know. I don't think the Dillian Whyte fight is going to happen because there's no money in it in America. Dillian just doesn't have the profile. And if they were serious about having that fight in the UK, Tyson Fury wouldn't be snubbing the award. Not that he was going to win anyway, but you just let it run its course. And if the BBC want to interview you about being a nominee or anything else you did for the year, you just let it happen because it's all good promotion for the fight. But I don't think the fight's going to happen. I just don't think it's going to happen. Not in the UK. He already said he's not going to fight in the UK. I think the likelihood is they're going to go for the linear Ring Magazine angle to promote his fights. Vacate the WBC belt. So what we saying next? Tom Schwartz rematch.